First thing I want to get clear with you is that I am not a formula person. Seriously, I've seen people that come out and say, here is the formula you need to write a great book or to write something that's amazing. And it's usually just BS, really, because there are no formulas that are going to guarantee you good writing, but there is a formula that I'm going to share with you today that will make a difference. It's pretty simple, and I promise you will be grateful for this. Stand by. I'm sure you already know that writing is not a paint-by-numbers type of deal, right? It's something that you, as the author, need to put yourself into fully. You need to put yourself onto that page, and you can't do that by numbers. You can't do that by formulas. And as I mentioned already, I am not a formula person. I'm not. I am an engineer with my background, and sometimes formulas can be useful. The formula that I'm going to share with you right now, I swear, will be very useful, and it's something that I have seen so many writers overlook. So basically, the formula is this. I'm going to say the letters first, and then I'm going to explain them. So it's E equals V over W times I. And wait, I'm going to tell you what they mean. E equals the effectiveness of your writing, and V equals the value of the content divided by W, which stands for the number of words, times I, which means the interest. So you've probably, I'm sure you've heard the phrase, kill your darlings, right? That's been attributed to many different authors. I'm not going to get into that at the moment, but you need to take out those parts that do not serve your writing, do not serve your book. And that means you might delete a whole chapter. You might take out paragraphs or phrases or unnecessary words. This is the W, right? So in fractions, right, we have the value over the W, right? So the lower that W is, the greater that E is, right? And the greater that V is, the value, then the greater that E is as well. And similarly, the greater the I is, or the interest, that's going to increase the effectiveness of your writing. I promise, every single time it will absolutely make a difference. The easiest part to do is to reduce the number of words. Now, you might have, for example, if you're writing fiction or nonfiction, you're describing an argument between a couple of partners, right? And they're fighting about something. The value of that could be very high because it is forwarding the plot, right? It's adding information. It's telling you things about the characters. That's a high value. So if you take out some of those words, it could also reduce the value of that and reduce the effectiveness. So that has to be applied judiciously. And that I factor, that can always increase the value. A great example is car commercials. I know you've seen car commercials. Cars are a very high stakes item, right? They're one of the highest priced items that are sold by commercials on televisions, movie theaters, and so on. And if you'll notice, the V in that is not necessarily very high. And the W is also not necessarily very high. It might be very low, but the I is huge. They will come up with something that is very, very interesting. They will spend millions and millions of dollars to produce one car commercial that hopefully will compel people to go out and buy that car. And it's because of that high I factor, right? So they may not be giving you any value of all in that commercial, but that I factor is very high, so people will go out and do that. In writing, keep that in mind. If you can reduce the number of words, it's going to increase the effectiveness. Also, if you increase the interest, back to the example of the argument between partners, if you have a lot of subtext going on where one person says something and another person answers that with a completely unrelated question, that's going to increase your interest. So remember that. E equals V divided by W. Remember, like VW, right? V divided by W times I. It will make a difference. It will absolutely help you improve your writing. I promise. Thank you so much for tuning in today. We'll see you on the next video. If you want to know whether I put my money where my mouth is, feel free to check out my two novels, which are in the links below. The Reluctant Visionary and Different. Together they've won 20 literary awards. I think you'll like them, and it might give you some insight too into what I'm teaching here. Thanks again for tuning in.